right, so let's take a look at your writing. And I see you've got your heading, interesting facts. And then I noticed you added this opener. Hey, if you enjoyed appearance, habitat, and diet, read this. I like that. I'm just wondering punctuation. What kind of punctuation might you want to use at the end of that sentence?
Question mark.
Is that, are you asking the reader a question? Or are you making like a statement? What one could you use?
I know.
Are you excited about reading this? Like, do you want them to be really excited about reading this? So what could you use? Yeah, an exclamation mark. I think that's a great choice. Now, rattlesnakes' eggs are retained in the mother's body until hatched, and the young are born alive. That's really interesting. Do you know what retained means, though?
No.
So let's maybe pick another word. So retained means they're kept inside the body. Does that make more sense to you?
I want it to be retained.
So what if we put in brackets kept, just in case the reader doesn't know what that retained means? So we'll put a little bracket, and then we'll just put the word kept.
What's a bracket?
So a bracket looks like this. We do that, and then we write the word kept.
Or just kept?
Kept. So K-E-P-T. And then another bracket on the other end to close it off. There we go. Now, sometimes, what does this mean? Sometimes
they're still in her. Sometimes they're still in her.
Sometimes the babies are still in her. Does that make sense?
Sometimes the babies move in her. Sometimes the babies are still in her.
Well, what do you mean? It says when they're... Well, you've already told me that, though. You said the eggs are in the mother's body until they're hatched, and then the young are born alive. Now, I'm wondering some other interesting facts about a rattlesnake. What else could we add? You got that interesting book all about rattlesnakes in the library today. Maybe we could look in that book for some more interesting facts. So let's look at this. When threatened, a rattlesnake quickly coils up, head raised, tail rattling. So from its coiled position, a rattlesnake can lunge the front third of its body outward and strike with great force. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. Look at this, another interesting thing.
All snakes swallow their prey whole. Rattlesnakes hunt and eat rodents, small birds, lizards, and frogs.
Now, here's the thing. When they're talking about what they're eating, what category do you think that would go under, or what heading do you think that would go under when they're actually for the food that they...
Meat.
Well, but what, in your writing, what category? Because I think you've already got that information down, right? When you talk about... What heading did you write about with what the...
Road runners.
No, that's rodents. But what heading did you write about what the animal eats, what the rattlesnake eats? In your writing, which one was it? So what part of your writing did you talk about? Under...
Ground dwelling birds.
Ground dwelling birds. So, but what heading's that?
Diet.
The diet. So, but we could say this under interesting facts, is that all snakes swallow their prey whole. Another really interesting fact I find is the rattlesnake has heat sensing capability and can detect in total darkness. So it feels like the heat of the rattlesnake. Okay, so we have a couple interesting facts there that you might find in that book that we might want to add, okay? So I find it's really interesting about the snake's babies, but we've also got some really cool, interesting facts here.
What are these?
Those are small rodents, like this white-footed mouse, are a rattlesnake's favorite food.
So these are a rattlesnake's food?
Yeah, that would be part of its diet. Okay? Okay. Do you know some interesting facts about the snow leopard? I'm seeing this, he said, do you know? If you're talking to the reader, I'm thinking of one word you might want to ask, if you want to really ask a question.
Did.
Do you...
Did?
Not did. You're right, do you, and I just add. Well, it would actually be two words. Let me tell you, let me ask you if this makes sense. Do you know some interesting facts about the honey badger, or do you want to know some interesting facts about the honey badger?
Do you want it?
So what do you think we should add here then?
Add a one here?
Yeah, add want to. So do you want to know some interesting facts about the snow leopard?
D-O. D-O. 1, 2, D-O.
Okay. So then, did you know the smallest snow leopard is the Panthera? So this is its animal name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where did you find this information from?
The book.
Which book?
The Guinness World Record.
Okay. So this is actually the animal name for the snow leopard. But what did it say about the snow leopard? So you could say, did you know, or an interesting fact is the snow leopard is what? The smallest of
All the wild cats?
all the wild cats. So I think that would make more sense there. And it's using words that we understand and the reader would understand better than this, okay? So, did you know, or an interesting fact is the snow leopard is the smallest of the wild cats. Now I'm wondering some other interesting facts, if there's more than just one. Because you've got me really excited about what you're reading. Do you want to know some interesting facts? When I say some, I think of more than just one. Alright, so maybe we want to grab the iPad to do a little bit more research, okay? Can you actually get your research to see what we have down for interesting facts? Okay, so now we see your research, and I look at this, you say, snow leopards are on top of the food chain. I think that's an interesting fact. What does it mean if they're on top of the food chain?
All around the food chain, they're on the top of it.
And what does that mean, though? If you're on top of the food chain, what does that mean?
No predators.
Yeah. So I think that's a very interesting fact that we
And
add.
it said it, and have no predators.
Okay.
However, cubs sometimes get snatched and eaten by wolves or eagles.
I think that's a really interesting fact that we add to that. So let's use some more of our research into that, okay? Okay. So I'm looking at your writing here, and you're talking about the diet because we're working on finishing that area. So, do you have a heading for this so I know that's what your writing is about? So let's add that so that helps us organize. And one thing you could do is I'm going to show you a little trick. Let's write the word diet down here.
Right here?
Yeah.
D-A.
Not D-A. I.
I.
Yeah.
I. E.
Yeah.
T.
So then what we're going to do is we're going to draw an arrow that points it all the way up to the top here so that we know that that's where it goes. Or I'll show you a little trick. So when we do this, it goes like this, all the way up here, and then you're going to put an arrow right there so they know that. So now we have diet. So a blue jay, can you read this to me, bud? Was this going to be our opener? Because here I see the blue jay eats seeds and insects, and it's an omnivore. So I think that's a great fact. But what I'm wondering is what we're trying to say here. So do you want to get your research just to see what maybe we're trying to write? Okay. So now we look at your research. And I see vegetables. I see acorns. I see. What word did you write there? Berries, nuts, seeds, and insects. So, and then you said a blue jay is an omnivore. So, do you know what I think might be good? Is let's reorganize our writing. So let's go to a new page. And so we're going to start our writing. What are we going to start with? I'll help write for you.
Blue jay.
Well, what are we going to start? What's our first text feature we're going to put down in our writing?
A title.
Well, we already have our title because we know we're talking about blue jays. But what is this writing going to be about?
Blue jays. What it eats.
So what a blue jay eats. So what heading do we want to use for that? Do we want to use diet or do we want to use what a blue jay eats?
What a blue jay eats.
Okay. So what blue jay eats.
I'm gonna make this word so neat.
Now, what do we want to be our opener to hook the reader?
And so good.
Do we want to talk to the reader?
Yes.
So how could we talk to the reader? Can we ask them a question?
Yeah.
So, did you know what? Did you know that a blue jay is a...
Omnivore.
Okay. So, did you know that the blue jay is an omnivore? Okay. And what are we going to put at the end? Are we going to put a period, question, exclamation mark? What do you think?
Exclamation mark.
Well, what are we asking the reader? Are we asking them a question, or are we just telling them something? What are we doing?
Asking him a question.
So then what punctuation should be at the end? If we ask a question, what do we put at the end?
Period.
Just a period?
Mine's perfect.
What special thing is it called this so we know that it's a question? I'll give you a hint. The name question is in it. Question. Yeah. Okay. Now, did you know that the blue jay is an omnivore? What if I don't know what an omnivore is? Can you tell me what an omnivore is?
It's the thing who eats
So
everything.
an omnivore eats. When you say everything, what do you mean?
Everything it like eats vegetables, seeds.
So it eats vegetables. So it eats both plants and animals?
Yes.
An omnivore eats both plants and animals. And what animals does the blue jay eat that makes it a Well, yeah, so animals, and so we could put worms. What else does it eat? It eats worms and it eats, you said, some
Seeds.
insects?
Insects.
So now, here's where you're going to do some writing. You've talked about, so we've got our heading, we've got our opener. And then we said an omnivore eats both plants and animals. So now what I want you to do is write down the different plants and the animals that the blue jay eats.
Okay.
Okay? So some plants or some vegetables that the blue jay eats. You talked about, we've got vegetables, we've got acorns, we've got seeds, we've got berries, and you've also talked about omnivore, or as a carnivore, it eats worms and it eats insects. Okay? So you ready to add that?
Yes.